Hello everyone, Lady Rose here from Goddess Garage. And if you've been watching my latest videos, you know that I am into junk journaling. I do in particular junk journaling for BOSs, which are Books of Shadows, for Wiccans or witchcraft or whatever, but I also do other kinds of junk journals as well. I've had a number of custom orders come in, so I've been working on those, but I've also had a lot of people ask me how to do some of the things that I do. So there's lots of videos out there. What I'm going to show you today is nothing new. I've been inspired by many different channels. Treasured Books is one. My Porch Prints, I think, is another one. I think that's what it's called, that I watch a lot. And there's another one, but I can't remember the name of it, but she's very good too. I'll try and put some links in the description there. So what I wanted to show you today were some postage stamps. And I've been watching a lot of videos on postage stamps, and a lot of times, because I'm not new, but I'm still investing in my collection of things that I need for junk journals. So I don't always have everything that they have. And some of these channels, you know, these guys have been doing it for a very long time, and they have like every tool under the sun. And it does take some investment to do some of this junk journaling. So these are some of the postage stamps that I've done. I'm just making sure I'm in frame as well, because I can't quite see. This one, I like this one because I actually put this on an envelope. And like you would, if you really like the stamp, you would tear it off, right? Now I am doing these stamps with no postage stamp really. I do have sort of a postage stamp, but what I'm going to show you today is how to make postage stamps without having to have all the fancy tools. There's another one, kitten mail. Who doesn't want some kitten mail, right? And then there's another one. So I'm going to go through. So some of the materials that I've been using. So this brown paper, let me just find it here. Let me just hang on. Bear with me for a second. So this brown paper, oh, here it is. It actually came out of this craft book. I got it at the dollar store, Dollarama in Canada. So I'm just, you know, got sheets of it here. So that's where that came from. And this is acting as part of some of my envelopes that my stamps are put onto. So I have this. I also have the actual envelope one that I did here earlier. So I can continue on there. The nice thing is when you get some of the lines already going, it's sort of there for the next stamp. And then also too, I actually have actual packing paper that I used as well, because I was thinking, you know, where do you get your stamps from when you tear them off of things, off of envelopes and brown package paper packages and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm using as the background part, where it looks like it's been torn off the envelope. So these are all the craft paper ones. Here's one of the packaging paper that I used. Here's another packaging paper that I used. Oops. Here's another packaging paper one I used. There's the one there in case it wasn't in the frame, that I used the packaging paper. So it's a little bit thinner, this one, than the craft brown paper, but it still works. And then this is the one I did up really quick, right from the envelope itself. So I have some ones here that are sort of ready to go. Now, where did I get this part, right? So this part, it's a great way to use up scraps. This part I just got, like I have a scrap bucket under my desk, and I just pulled out this piece of paper. It's an old page from a geographic book, and sometimes I pull out maps to add to pages and in my junk journals. So it's blank on the one side, so I just pulled this out, and that's where I got these squares. So I have lots, like I said, it's lots of scrap paper. So whatever you want to use, if you want to use like even book papers. These are just some I have ripped up for another project, but you could use actual like writing behind them if you want. I like it plain because then it looks a little more like a real postage stamp. And this part here is a file. So that's what I've been using, a manila file. And I do have crimping scissors. That's one tool I have invested in. And it would be worth it for the stamps to do this. There are other ways you can do it, but the crimping scissors are actually the best way to go. And like I said, I just, this is my second file that I'm into with stamps so far. So, and you build your stash, right? So the idea behind it is you have all these stamps now to choose from when you're trying to figure out what you want to put on pages or on tags or whatever kind of thing. So, here we go. So I've got a butterfly one. So I thought I'd do that one first. And I'll show you what I did for the stamping part and stuff too. But we'll start out by assembling this stamp. Here we go. So if I can, some of them I've used old book margins. So this is really cool paper. Here's the book here. So I tear out a page anytime I need it. It's very old. It was like, 1920s when it was produced or published. So it's like aged already, which is kind of nice. And what the bonus of this book is I actually have handwritten facsimiles of historical letters and that sort of thing. So I've used that for something else when I just need some handwriting that I want to have on my junk journals. So I'm going to use crafter's tape. But when you're using old books like that I just showed you, you can't use the tape because the tape will eat the book. So it needs actually new paper to kind of go with. And this crafter's tape, if you've never used it, so this is the one I'm using. You can get it right on Amazon. You can get packs of it. You can even subscribe for it, which I have since done because I go through a lot of it. And it's much stickier than regular tape. So I just put that layer down. Excuse me. So if I can do the tape, I will, because it just saves from, layer of gum, glue, I mean. So, that being said, I'm going to age it out a little bit now. So just let me get something here. So I've got my distresser, and I use just makeup sponges. I know a lot of the, YouTube channelers have these special sponges and applicators, and I'm sure they're wonderful. But when I realized what I was doing, I was like, I used to be a makeup artist, and I'm like, oh, makeup sponges will work. And I have a whole drawer of them. See, there you go. Whole drawer of them. You can buy them really cheap at the dollar store. And, just buy a couple bags of them, and you're set for quite some time. So yeah, I just get out a new sponge probably about once a day, because I do tend to go through the sponges because I'm doing a lot. Like, I don't just do it for myself. I do it on order as well. Oops. So there we go. Just aging up and this is vintage photo. Because I'm always resting my sponge on it, it's getting a little distressed on the top as well. So there's the first base of the stamp. Now I'm going to put this little butterfly on, and I'm actually going to age it up a little bit too. These are just pre-cut butterflies. You can get all kinds of different things for your stamps. So like I said, this is a pre-cut, sort of die-cut butterfly piece of paper, like it's on cardboard. This is like a sticker. If you want to use stickers, you can. This is from an old gardening journal. I just found it there. Found this little thing. This is something I want to mention. So I found this little squirrel, and he actually has a little bit of postage right on him. So I'm going to do him right there. And this stamp, this one actually is from that old book. So I tore it a little bit because I wanted it to look like oopsie, someone made a mistake and ripped a little too much when they tried to rip that stamp off, right? But where I found the squirrel was actually on some packaging of other stickers. So when you buy other stickers or any kind of scrapbooking materials, check the packages, because there's a lot of packages I've cut down because they either have little smaller versions of what's inside, and this squirrel happens to be a smaller version of one of the stickers that was inside that box. So I cut this squirrel out for this little stamp here. He came in the box that came with these kind of animals. So check everywhere. And then also too, you know, here's another packaging. This came, so this was vintage collage sheets, and I'm going to just cut her out, and by the time I've stamped it all up, you won't be able to really read any of this, and it'll just look like a regular stamp. But this was the packaging it came in. So when you start junk journaling, you start seeing things in a much different way. Now this came in a unicorn package. For me, this looks like poinsettias, so I was thinking I might make a Christmas stamp out of that. Then there's stickers as well, but you don't have to use the whole sticker. See, I like this bird. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the bird out and put him as the stamp, the thing on the stamp. So you don't have to use the actual picture it comes in. I have another one. Where did I put it? Oh, this little dragonfly guy. He was part of a picture. I don't know if oh, here it is. So he was part of this picture. That's his wing there. So I just cut him out. And I'll probably use this flower as well, or maybe a couple of them, part of the plant. It doesn't really matter. Because like I said, the picture doesn't actually have to make sense per se, because you're going to be stamping over it. Like you can see that this is stamped over. So even if there was a flower attached to him, you probably wouldn't see it. And then I got this little book. Again, I think it was Wish or Amazon or something. And it's just full of botanical prints. So lots of stamps can be done with that one. This is one of the stamps that I made from that book, from a design from that book. And I made another one too. Or maybe I have another one in the works. Must have, oh, here's the one I was thinking of. So this one as well is what I'm going to do. Now with these ones, I tend not to put the behind white part because it doesn't really need it, because it fades into the paper really nicely. The only thing I did do was I outlined it in black, so it kind of looked like it's got a stamp, like that it is a stamp, so that this part is sort of separated. Now, a lot of people will get on here and they'll talk about what they're doing. They're making something. This is where I got the unicorn from. It was actually a journal card, a wee little journal card, but I took it and I'm going to make a stamp out of it, because who doesn't want a unicorn stamp? But I fussy cutted everything ahead of time, because that's sort of one of my pet peeves is watching people fussy cut. It's like, I know how to cut things out. I don't need to spend 10 minutes watching you do it. So if I'm learning something, learning a new technique, or watching the way someone does it, maybe they do it different and I'll be inspired to do something different, then, you know, I don't want to sit and watch a bunch of stuff that I already know, like I said, like cutting out. So there's the butterfly, and we'll put it on the stamp. There we go. Let it set up for a second. So with this glue, this is the tacky glue, the original tacky glue. There's clear as well. So this is a really good glue. This is more than what your Elmer school glue will be. And it's an all-purpose adhesive, so I use it for just about everything. I do keep it sideways when I'm storing it, because it just makes it so the glue's already kind of there. But I find it doesn't get too clogged up, which is nice. So there, that one's not quite done. Of course, we're done the stamp part, but while we're waiting for it to kind of, you know, get dry a little bit, I'm going to make the unicorn one. Easy peasy. I do tend to like to glue the first like layer, the one you're going to be looking at, down with the glue as opposed to tape. The tape is good on paper. It's not always great on, like, this is sort of a shiny material that the unicorn is on. Shiny kind of paper. And then I've got this little tool. You do not need this at all. Where did it go? Oh, I'm lying. Maybe I don't. Oh, yes, I do. So this is a one of the things that comes with the bone smoother, or bone, it's bone something. So this is great. This is good for if you want to make sure your fold is sharp. This does the job, absolutely. And for the longest time, I didn't really know what this was for, and I may still be using it incorrectly, but what I tend to use it for is to smooth the glue underneath something that I've just freshly glued, because I've seen people like take the glue and smear it on the back and then put it on. I like to put it on and then smear it out, and it's okay if it goes over, no problem. That's what a clean cosmetic brush is for. A makeup brush is you just dab it up. It's also the cosmetic brushes or makeup brushes are also very good for removing the glue. Unlike Kleenexes or whatever, they're not messy. They just take care of the glue. It's all gone. Now with the unicorn one, I'm going to use my blue instead of my distresser to distress it instead of my vintage photo. So I'm going to use blue here because of course it's a magical stamp, right? So gotta have a magical color to it. At least that's what I'm thinking. And I'm going to add another little layer to this unicorn stamp. So I've got some of this blue glitter gel, and it is fantastic for this unicorn stuff. I've been doing a couple of unicorn journals lately. Everybody seems to be wanting unicorns, so I've been working with unicorns a lot. I just got a second order for another unicorn journal, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I got the supplies for that. So it's a glue, so it helps to keep things down too, but it also adds a nice sparkle. Now if you're using this in a journal, you will have to leave that page open for quite some time because you need to let it set and get dry, because otherwise you'll end up with sparkle on the other side of the page, on the opposite page. Learn from my mistakes, children. So there's a nice little sparkle aspect to the unicorn stamp. So like I said, use your imagination. I've got another kitten here for some more kitten mail. And these were like stickers that just came in a kit or something. And I'm like, when the hell am I going to use cats, you know? But I figured it out. It's like, okay, I'm going to use them on stamps. There you go. So we're going to let this guy dry a little bit. Put it off to the side. Somewhere safe where I won't put my elbow into it or whatever. And then I'm going to grab my envelope that I'm working with here today. And I'm going to put my stamp on here. So this is where I'm going to glue it down onto. So this is where you can now make it look like a postage stamp, like it's been through the mail and seen some stuff, you know, through all the machines and battered up a little bit, because we all love that shabby kind of look. Get my little glue tool out. Make sure it's all spread nicely around. I have yet to put a junk journal up on Etsy. I managed to get one up there, but it sold like 5 minutes later. And ever since then, any ones that I've been working on, people have asked, like, is that one that's custom made? Or is that one you're actually going to put up for sale? and I keep selling them. So I've never actually, well, except for that one that went up to Etsy and it sold 5 minutes later. That's the only one that's ever hit Etsy. So definitely find me on Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Lady Rose Tarot. And on Facebook, you can find me through Goddess Garage Tarot Parlor. Because that's sort of what I do when I'm not junk journaling, is reading the cards. But yeah, you can find me and see pictures. I often will post pictures of things that I'm working on. Like, for instance, I'm working on this Book of Shadows, but it's a peacock themed Book of Shadows. I will be doing a flip through of this later on once it's finished. It's almost done. Okay, so now for the exciting part. So definitely watch for that flip through. So I've got a few things here. So I have this, and this isn't really anything. Again, it came in a stamp kit. I have no idea what it is, but I used the lines to create some of these lines. Let me give you an example here of where they're kind of hidden in. So see, these lines here, they came from that stamp. So you kind of have to MacGyver things together, but look at your rubber stamps and see what you've got that you could put together. So this is a card that I was sort of experimenting with. And one thing I noticed it on the squirrel, is that, oops, there we go, that his postage stamp that he's got is red. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's not always black, right? So I have a bunch of these little square ink pads that I got at the dollar store. They're super handy. I have a rainbow of colors because of it. So this isn't the red I use. That's a little more Christmassy red, but this is the red I'm using. So it's kind of a brownish red. So it's working perfectly. So I used the top off of like a spray bottle of like alcohol or any little traveling spray bottle. Your hair sprays and things like that often have these little tops. These are great. These create circles. And then I happened to get one of these stamps, you know, for sealing envelopes and stuff. I don't know why it didn't come with the handle. It was supposed to, but it was an oopsie kind of order that kind of got screwed up. So I just kept this head part. And actually, it's not always like the G. It's a G. It's supposed to be a G. My last name's Gilbert, so that's why it's a G. But it doesn't always come through. It comes through more as a looking like a circle again. So I've got these two lined up here with the red. And then I've got this little rubber stamp, and I do him last because, yes, there is some botanical stuff on it. But what's kind of cool is he's got some lines there, but he's got 1918. So just add some numbers to your stamp as well, which always looks a little more authentic then. And then I've got, where's my big bad boy? I'm sure I put him somewhere safe. Where did I put him? Oh, here he is. Okay. Sorry, I'm usually more prepared than this. So I've got this guy here. So I'll show you on the sheet here because it's hard to see it on the actual rubber stamp. And I have one glass block. I haven't been able to purchase any more just lately. And this guy's super, super sticky. But this guy's so big, even if I had a glass block, I don't think I would use it because usually I only want parts of this. I don't want the whole thing. So up here, you'll notice, make sure I've got it in frame if you can see it. There's like lines, postage stamps here and here. There's a little bit of handwriting, which doesn't hurt. So this is the corner that I get to stamp onto my stamps, and then I'll just go in and I'll stamp with just this single one. And you can do it especially if you don't use the block, because you can manipulate this thing to, you know, it's wobbly enough that you can manipulate it. So I found it very interesting that if you look at this, you can see that there's handwriting. There's another postage stamp over here which I could use if I wanted to, but some of it is like sideways and things like that, and it's all different ways. And it just reminded me of a book that I read, actually, about local pioneers in Belleville. I'm in Kingston, Ontario, so it's very close by. So you'll see that I'm going to use this one first. Boop, boop. There we go. And it doesn't always have to, like, you don't have to do the full, like, it doesn't have to give you the full circle, because that's the idea, is that, oh, it's been stamped so many times that, you know, you can't even see the stamps anymore. But I was reading a book about some local pioneers in Belleville, and they're two sisters, and they would write back and forth to each other, and they both were in kind of the same area, but not close enough to actually visit with each other. And that wasn't very far apart, because in those days you were doing it by horse and buggy, so even a half-hour drive would be a full day excursion. So I'm just putting this down twice to create more lines. So I put it down once, and it had 2 lines here, and then I put it down these double lines right over top of the first double lines, so it created more lines. And like I said, when you first see it, it's like, okay, there's lines, it doesn't look postage. Like, it will, wait for it. But it was kind of interesting, because a lot of old letters, and I've read some old letters for history projects and stuff like that, but a lot of letters like, first of all, they're really hard to read because people were using like feathers and things like that to write with, quills. But they also would write sideways and down columns and all over. And that was because when you mailed a letter, you were charged per page. So that's why a lot of letters only wanted to be 1 or 2 pages, because it was more expensive to do 3 pages or 4 pages if you could just write sideways. And over top, even, like in between. It was like, oh my gosh, how did the receiver read those things? Okay, so you can see I stamped some of that down. Now I'm just going to come in here with this. Usually I put it around here. 1918, right? It shows up. I could even do it here if I wanted to. That didn't show up as well, but that's okay. Not to worry. It just adds to the chaos, right? Because that's what you want. You kind of want that chaotic look. And then I rip mine out. Some people like them very straight and proper. So I did one very straight and proper. And that's how I did that one. But most of them, I'm tearing out. So you're just tearing them out. Because that's how you would take a stamp off an envelope. You wouldn't necessarily sit and cut it. You'd be like, okay, I'm going to throw the rest of this thing out, but I want to keep the stamp. So you'd keep the stamp. And just be mindful of how you're ripping it, because sometimes it can get away from you. On one stamp in my collection there, it did kind of get a little away from me. Now I'm going to rip this down a little more. It's getting really close to that one stamp, but that's okay. You know, it's not, even if you were ripping it off, it wouldn't be perfect necessarily. But also to keep in mind, leave a fair amount of space, because you don't know what you're going to be using these on yet. So if you want something big, great. If you want to cut it down some more, you can, like I've got room up here to tear down. I could tear down here a little bit more. I could tear down here a little bit more and just have half a circle of the stamp kind of thing. So there's the postage stamp done with minimal postage stamp rubber stamps. Just things I had around that I figured out, hey, this looks like a postage stamp too. So we can do Miss Unicorn here. She's still a little wet, but we could try her out. Let's see here. Okay. Just to show you one more time. Some unicorn mail. So yeah, play with it. Have some fun with it. Like, don't feel like you're limited to, you know, the Queen on your stamps or something and thinking, I don't have any pictures of the Queen. Like, I just got this guy off of one of the collage pages I have. And, you know, he was probably a very important man at some point. He's on a stamp, so there you go. He's only on a stamp because I put him there, but nevertheless, I've deemed him important. So there's that. And I don't want to press too hard because I don't want to get on that glue. the sparkle glue. But I may, actually, I'm going to try something out here. Because I may actually just see what magical mail would look like if I were to do magical mail. So I have a little bucket over here that I keep. And this, as you can see, there's lots of scraps in there. So I kind of do the Rachel Ray thing of keeping a bucket right on my desk so that it's actually easier to throw things out than it is to put it in my scrap bucket. Because sometimes your scrap bucket can really get away from you. And sometimes I have like multiple scrap buckets going. And it's like, okay, I need to do something about this. Oh, okay. This purple is a little weak on me. Not bad, not bad. Let's try the blue. I know the blue works. The blue definitely works. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that magical mail. Put another blue out here. And then I'll follow that up with this guy, but I'll clean him off. This is a Kleenex I was using for paintbrushes earlier, so I figure, why not? It's right on the top of the scrap bucket, or not the scrap bucket, the garbage bucket. So this bucket I use all the time. Like I said, I throw whatever little scraps away, and it's right there, so I'm not having to hunt around. Where's my garbage? And, you know, I'm getting lazy that day or whatever. There's no excuse. Maybe here. There we go. And I empty it at least once a day. Sometimes I need to empty it more often because it gets overflowing. So let's see. Okay, now we're gonna go on to do this part, but we're still gonna do the blue. We're gonna keep using that blue. So this will be fun. I didn't put any lines down. Oops. That's okay. Ooh, nice. Let's see if I can get a circle on the unicorn without smudging the glue. I did. Yay. Okay, good for me. And see, it still looks fine even without those lines, but the lines just kind of add a little extra. But I'll just say, well, it's because it's magical mail. It doesn't need as much postage or as much attention. So that's why it doesn't have those extra lines of gibberish. And there we go. Tear this out. And someone in their unicorn journal will be getting a magical unicorn stamp. And that's, there you go. Like I said, you know, you can do it without necessarily having the postage stamps per se. So I just wanted to give you a little example. Oh, another thing you can use too is washi tape. So this is really good for that sort of thing. I did have one. Where did I put it that I did? Oh, this is one. So the coffee one. So this is, where's my coffee? It's this one, I think. Oh no, sorry, it's this one. So yeah, I just pulled off this coffee grinder off here, made it a stamp. Easy peasy. Now you know what to do. You can use washi tape, go through your magazines, find magazine pictures, use stickers. You can age anything you like. And like I said, just find some of these little circles and, you know, look through your rubber stamps and see what you've got that you could sort of make up as a bit of a postage sign. So that's it for me for right now. Just a little bit of knowledge there. I hope it helped inspire you to make something and to create your own versions of stamps. If you do have some versions that you made, please feel free to share them, and I would love to see them. Okay, take care. Bye.